back. Here we are doing some more notes. But again, guys, you're doing this because you want to get better, because you want to be prepared. I appreciate that, all right? And if this helps you and you know someone who's not doing it, hey, go tap on the show and be like, hey, you need to go watch this video so you guys are prepared for the next thing, because what's coming next is going to be bananas more difficult, okay? So let's see where we are. We did reflection. Looks like some things got erased in my notes. I'm going to do a little fixie-roo here. So that's Y, and that should be limited. Okay. So anyway, so let's go ahead and fill in rotation. So we have the sketch, we have the visual cue, the casual, we have the algebraic rule, we have the constructor cue, and we have any special notes, which is probably going to be that rotation rule. Okay. So let's talk about rotations. Let's talk about it in terms of a sketch. And just like before, what I think I want to do is actually challenge myself to show the rotation of, let's say, a multi-pointed object, not just a single-pointed object. So let's say we have this object. It's called A. No surprise, it's probably going to be B. And then, of course, we got our C. Bam. Okay. Now, what's important in the sketch of a shape of this manner, and we want to rotate it, is we just don't have to have the pre-image, but we also have to have the center of rotation. So I'm going to identify the center of rotation to be this guy right here, and I'm going to call it W. It doesn't really matter what I call it, W is what I got. Now, if I want to map out this rotation, I have to pick an angle of rotation. It doesn't really matter what it is, and I'll tell you why in a second, because we're just trying to sketch one, right? So the way we're going to find this is that we're going to construct a angle that goes from the pre-image A to the center of rotation W, and then comes off the center of rotation W in at the same length to find your new image, and let's call it A prime. Now again, we talked about this a lot. A lot of this has to do with, say, like a circle, and I'm going to go ahead and sketch one really light here. But you can kind of see, like, we have the circle that goes around W. Whoa, swing and a miss. Okay. So we have the circle that goes around W, and it incorporates both points with W as the center of that circle. That ensures that the distance between that the distance AW is the same as the distance A prime W, which is one of the rules that you guys have to follow for reflections. Okay, so if I want to find my new C, a couple things have to happen. One, I have to use the same center of rotation, so I'm going into W, missed, going into W, and then I have to use the same angle of rotation that I picked for A. So I don't really know what this angle is right now, but I'm going to try to copy to the best of my ability, because all the angles of rotation must be the same, as we are using the same center of rotation. So I'm going to say it's about, well, it's not really close, let's try it again. It's about there, okay. So that'll be my C prime. Okay, and then boom, let's come in with a B. And again, we have to try to match this the best we can. That's pretty close. Okay, so, and again, we have to know that these distances are actually the same. That'll bring me to B prime. And then we got ourselves that rotation. So the question you may be asking yourself here is, how in the world do I identify that angle? Well, don't worry about that particular part of it, because all we have to do is name the angle. You even said it yourself. So if you're curious what the angle of rotation is, the angle of rotation is actually can be called three different things. You can call it A, W, A prime. You can also call this angle of rotation C, W, C prime, or you can call it angle B, W, B prime. Now, before you freak out, think about this for a minute. Like, this should make some sense. If it was a 90-degree angle, I'd simply say the angle of rotation is 90 degrees. And the way you'd measure 90 degrees is by starting with one of the vertices, coming down to the center of rotation, then out to its image point. So this angle is not 90 in this case. It's something else. It's an unknown thing since it's just a sketch, but you can still call an angle of rotation even though it's not a known number. Now, the other thing you have to be able to identify is the center of rotation. In this case, that center was just W. Okay, so there we have our sketch. Now, if we want to describe a rotation very casually, we can tell something is rotated a lot of different ways. I'm going to repeat a lot of things I heard in class. I heard spin. I heard refreshing slowly. What happened there? Hold on a second. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I heard spin. I apologize for that, guys. I heard spin. I heard turn. I heard go around. Okay? But this essential idea here, and that essential idea is that the essential idea is that you're moving, but you're kind of staying in place at the same time. So it's not really changing. It's not being mapped to itself or anything, but it's going to move around the center of rotation. Okay. We have the rules, and those are something you guys can go back and copy directly from your notes. But I can go ahead and write them here as well. So if we're looking at 100-degree rotation, uh, x comma y is going to go to, what is that, negative x comma negative y. 90-degree rotation counterclockwise, xy is going to go to negative yx. And a 90-degree clockwise rotation is going to be xy that goes to y negative x. Not bad, but extremely limited in what you actually have to, where you can actually use it, because you have to be on a grid. We know that's not going to happen all the time. That guy wasn't on a grid. But it is a valid part of thinking about rotation, so it's not something I want you guys to totally forget. In terms of what you actually have to show, and again, this is the constructor cue, right? So what we actually have to construct are two things. We have to be able to demand a circle with the center of rotation as center, and the image and pre-image on the circumference. Now, again, that's a really long-winded way of saying something actually really simple. And the thing that's saying that it's really simple is that the distances have to be the same. Okay? And so if the center of rotation is the center of the circle, and then both those image and pre-image points are on the circumference, that means they're both radii and therefore the same distance from the center of rotation. The second thing that you definitely have to be able to identify on demand is that the angle formed between the image, the pre-image, and the center of rotation has to be the angle of rotation. So the angle formed from pre-image, center of rotation, and image is the angle of rotation. Okay, so and that's just to make sure the points have actually moved the appropriate amount. Okay, so last little note here that I'll put is that we have to talk about the rule. So the rule as it stands is that you have big R, the subscript to big R, excuse me, is going to be the angle of rotation, center of rotation. And the argument is going to be the pre-image, and I'm just gonna abbreviate it PI. I'm running short on space here, if you didn't notice, and that is going to go to the image, which I'm just going to call I. So, for example, okay, if we look back at the sketch we had at the very beginning, we have a rotation. The angle of rotation is any of those things. The three angles listed here as angle of rotation, and we have the center rotation at W. So if I want to write the rule for this, I'll identify that we do have a rotation. So let me go with a slightly smaller pen. Bang on. Okay. So we do have a rotation. The angle of rotation was angle AWA prime. The center of rotation was W. You can look back at the example if you want to see it. And I put parentheses around that to make it nicer. The pre-image was triangle ABC. And that went to the image of triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay? And what that would look like, and I don't want to redraw it for you, but what this rule would look like, okay, is just actually right here. Okay? And I'll write the rule below so we can kind of follow it as I'm typing it or writing it in real time. We have this reflection. We're going to rotate about the angle AWA prime. And I could have picked these as well, it's a replacement for like an actual number. Mario, go back. Using the point of rotation W, we're going to take the figure triangle ABC, and we're going to do that rotation about angle AWA prime until triangle A prime, B prime, C prime results. So it's just a kind of neat way to write those in a very compact way. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was quite a bit in itself with a 10-minute video, but look at those notes. Ain't that pretty? So we have one piece of puzzle left to go. That's translation. I don't need to do anything on Edmodo with this particular video. I simply need you to watch it, review the notes, do what you can to make sure that you're ready to go Monday or Tuesday for translations, which is going to be the fun part. I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Goodbye.